Well, good morning to all you shooters and reloaders out there. And also, hello to all the Three Circles passengers and members. It's Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone Express. Welcome. And what I've got here is my nice single action 357 Magnum revolver and my Winchester Model 94 in 357 Magnum. And we're going to talk about the concept that was very popular back in the post-Civil War era, where the people were moving west and starting a new life out west, and they had to have rifle and handgun, best for the same caliber cartridge, because that made it much more simple for them in logistics. And so in those days it was a 4440, and today we have our 357 Magnum, which is very popular round, and when it's chambered for our rifle and our handgun, it's just as good a concept as it was back in the Westward Movement days. So let's get one load that we can use reliably and trustworthy for both rifle and handgun, and that means we're going to go ahead and do some reloading for the 357 Magnum. Turns out that there's no better load for most of our uses than the 125 grain jacketed hollow point bullet loaded in the 357 Magnum to maximum pressures. And that gives us somewhere around 1,750 feet per second out of our short barrel rifle and 1,450 feet per second out of our short barrel handgun. So let's begin with this load by discussing the components we're going to use to assemble the ammunition. We're using Fiocchi brass, and these are Hornady 125 grain XTP bullets. We're going to use Lyman dies and Tula small pistol Magnum primers. So these, of course, are our Lyman dies, and they're very nicely manufactured, good quality, nice finish, well knurled, nice die-lock rings, but we would expect none less from the oldest reloading equipment company that we have. That's Lyman. So the full-length resizing die is nice because the decapping pin is screwed down until it's right there, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's automatically the correct protrusion to work nicely. So we go ahead and adjust it until the die touches the shell holder at full stroke, and we're ready to go. We're ready to go ahead and run all of our cases through there. Like this. And of course, this is our Lyman All-American 8 turret press. Works real well, decapping the cases as you see. Now the next die is the neck expanding mouth flaring die, and that's a very critical die to the quality of our reloads, because the neck expansion needs to be correct to give us the correct tension on the bullet, to hold the bullet. Whereas the mouth flare is critical so that the bullet is seated without any damage to the bullet at all. So to adjust this die, we lower it until it touches the shell holder at full stroke, then back it off 2 turns, and then use the neck expanding mouth flaring stem by trial and error until we get the right flare to allow the bullet to enter the case mouth without any kind of damage when we seat the bullet. And of course, we've said this before many times, but the Lyman M die, it creates a 2-step neck flare, mouth flare, so the bullet seats itself into that. So to show you, the case goes into the die and gets mouth flared with a two-step expansion, and when the bullet goes in, it's square. You don't have to worry about that going in crooked. Just put it in until it's solidly in, and it's going to be square. Now this operation can go fairly quickly. As you see, we'll just go ahead and do them all. Now always check as you're going along to make sure that you're okay with that, you see? Notice how nicely square that is? That's why we like the Lyman neck expander mouth flaring die. They call it the M die. And a lot of other companies have copied the M concept, but Lyman had it first. And of course, you've seen this before. This is our Lee Ram Prime. And what we do is we take a case and a primer, put the primer in the arm, as you see, back it off, put the case in, and then seat the primer. Very nicely seated primer. And the Tula small pistol Magnum primers are that nice copper color. We'll go ahead and prime all of them. Next, we set our Hornady automatic powder dispenser to measure out 20.3 grains of powder. That's Winchester 296 powder. And there you see, it doesn't take long for it to give us 20.3 grains. We're a tenth short, and there it is. So we dispense the powder charge, put the bullet on the case mouth, then we adjust the seating stem until the edge of the case mouth is right at the top part of the cannelure, and lock the die there. As you see, there it is. Give you a close-up of that. You see it's right at the top part of the cannelure. That's where we want it. So the Hornady automatic powder dispenser did a great job metering out 50 charges with no overcharges. Perfect throws, every one, and fast also. Notice that the Winchester 296 powder is 100% of the case fill behind the bullet. What this means is that the powder is a slow burning powder, and it's a Magnum powder. Now, H110 and 296 Winchester are essentially the same powder. You might find some small differences in maximum charges in different reloading manuals, but essentially they're the same powder. Now notice that the Hornady gives Winchester 296 at a maximum of 20.3 grains, but the Lee reloading manual gives a maximum charge of Winchester 296 at 22 grains. So there's a little difference there, but we'll go with the Hornady. The 22 grains we've already shot, and that shoots safely, but perhaps the accuracy will be better with the 20.3 grain charge from the Hornady manual. Well, there's 50 rounds perfectly seated. You'll see a little bit of the cannelure still showing there. Now, Winchester 296 powder in H110 also performs very well when they're slightly compressed. But we don't need to do that in this case with the 20.3 grain maximum charge. Okay, adjusting the Lee factory crimp die is child's play, because what we do is we go ahead and set the die so it touches the shell holder at maximum stroke, and then we back out the crimping stems so that there's no crimping. Now we run one of our rounds in there and lower the stem until it touches the case mouth. Like that. Now that's no crimp, but it's ready to crimp. Now we back out the round and give it a half turn and see if that's the crimp. Nope, that's not enough. Give it another half turn. Now we check the crimp and we want a little more. There it is. Now we've got it adjusted, we crimp it, give it a little bit of a turn, like say 30 or 40 degrees, crimp it again. We'll do a couple more of those and show you. There, show you those crimps, and you see how nice those look. We'll go ahead and crimp them all. Now, some say the .357 Magnum's not a very good defense round because you don't have much ammo capacity in the gun. Well, notice how these drop in real well because of the balance of the dies. Do a real good job. They all just drop in with a stick and they all fall right out, as you see. But these rounds could be loaded into a 10 or 12 shot lever action. Gives you a lot more ammo capacity and a lot more velocity. From a rifle, we would get 1,750 feet per second. Well, let's not function test the ammo in our lever gun at home because of safety issues, so we'll do that at the range. The .357 Magnum, very popular round. This is Fortune Cookie 45 LC. See you next video. Bye for now.